Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
Movie.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex?
Klopex. Klopex.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 3. This week we're doing Cecil B. Demented. It's directed by John Waters. It was written by him also. We're going to talk about the film. We're going to let you know what we thought about it. I think it's going to be a good show. So thanks for listening, and we will, well, you know what? We'll just start the show. All right, guys. Hey, welcome to this week's episode. We're doing Cecil B. Demented. I'm really excited to talk about this movie because I have so many questions, and I also have just so many thoughts about this movie. So I'm really excited to talk about it. I'm Cody Everett, your host. By the way, you can find me on Instagram at the official Cody Everett. You can also find me on Facebook under Cody Everett. You can find this show on Facebook at Cult Films and Review, and you can also find us on Twitter at Cult_Review, and you can email us at cultfilmsandreview@gmail.com. That is a lot of information, but thanks for listening to it. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes and subscribe. It helps us out a bunch. We're just a little podcast that hopefully can do good. So thanks for listening, guys. I'm going to start off. My week has been pretty cool. My grandpa came into town this week. It was nice. Got to go see him. We went to my nephew's baseball game. Then we went to... Has anyone been to the Oregon Pizza Company thing? What? It's just a big organ in the middle of the room, and you eat pizza and yell at each other because no one can hear because of a giant organ. Anyone been there?
Organ?
No. Yeah, an organ.
I thought you were saying Oregon.
Who plays the organ?
An old guy.
Where the hell is this?
So
at?
Mesa.
Your table is like a table.
It's a bench. It's like a bench.
The organ is a bench that you sit on?
No.
The organ is the table part or the bench part?
No, I think the organ is a separate entity.
Yes,
within
the organ
the center
is.
of the
It's
the
like
room,
the whole.
from what I
The organ's actually like the whole restaurant. It's got pipes for the organ going all over the restaurant, so it's all over. It's weird. It's a weird place. It's kind of cool. A little expensive. So I'm not like sold on it.
That seems like a hell of a business gamble.
Dude, they're making hand over fist.
So, like, what? You're sitting there, you're eating pizza, and it's like fucking Phantom of the Opera in there, and people are just like,
yeah.
Do you have to tip the guy?
I'm out of ranch dressing. Boom, boom.
He does take tips.
What was that looking like? Pretty full?
It was. And then, dude, when he was
wrong career choice.
When he was done playing, the place cleared out. Empty.
well, if you're not coming for the organ, what are you going there
pizza
for?
probably sucks.
That's what I can't. No, their pizza. Okay, 14-inch large. That's a large 14-inch.
That's pretty small.
$18.99.
Ouch.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's like
they're making a killing.
What do they put in
I feel like
those?
I should pepper in
Cheese.
some organ
Cheese.
tones during this conversation.
Sauces.
I wonder if they just hire old like Nordstrom piano players. It's like what they do is they moonlight at the Oregon pizza place.
Since Nordstrom doesn't have piano players
Well,
anymore.
they don't. Well, Nordstrom has to close at like what 9?
I don't think they do that anymore, man.
They don't.
I don't think
Well,
so.
what's the point of going to Nordstrom anymore then?
Right? Hey, Mike, how was your week? Where can people find you at?
Oh, well, you can find me at Mike Salustio on Twitter, or you could read my blog, Friendly Neighborhood Filmmaking, at friendlyneighborhoodfilmmaking.com. And you want to know about my week?
We'd like to know something.
I watched Daredevil all week.
How was it?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I'm in episode 6 right now.
I hear great things.
It's really good. What you heard was correct.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Chris.
Hey. Yes.
Where can people find you at? How's your week going?
My week is going great. Let's see. Nothing bad has happened. It's fantastic.
It's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Where can people find you at?
You could find me at midnightreleasing.com, braindamagefilms.com. That's a local film distribution company in the Phoenix area. I work there, and it's great. You could also find me at Guarorama on Instagram.
All right. Kyle Smith.
Yes, sir.
Where can people find you at? How was your week?
People can find me at Pliskin426 on Instagram and Facebook.com/BluefieldAudio. My week has been up and down. The up part being, yes, I am also deep into the Daredevil saga as well. I think I'm on episode
Oh my God.
7 right now.
Can't even talk. He's so excited about it.
Let me clear that throat out there. Yeah, no, I'm on episode 7. Fantastic show. Like, I'm gonna say it's probably better than some of the movies that Marvel's put out.
I'd
Like,
agree.
It's
Ghost Rider. Better than Ghost Rider, for sure.
Well, goddamn.
I don't
I'm
know.
sorry, I didn't set the bar very high.
Yeah. But the downside was I had to get my car fixed this week.
That's always expensive.
Yeah, which pisses me off because I knew exactly what was wrong with it, but I didn't want to risk making it worse by driving it to get it, get the engine codes checked by like AutoZone or something. So I was spending $250 to get it fixed, but I could have done it myself for like $80. So that's always nice.
There you go. You're
That's
paying
nice.
for that. You're paying for that labor.
That's
That's what you
exactly
gotta
what
do.
it was. Exactly what it was.
You got to pay for that labor.
Bullshit is what I'm paying for.
All right, guys. So the movie we're here to talk about is Cecil B. Demented. It's directed by John Waters. It had a $10 million budget. Here's my first question for you.
What?
Yeah, $10 million budget. Here's my first question for you. Where did the budget go?
Well, it didn't go into special effects, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not at
Certainly
all.
not.
Where did it go? Where did he use the $10 million?
I think it
have no
all went
idea.
into Melanie Griffith's
That's got to be the case.
pockets.
It has to be because there's not that many sets. It's shot mostly either outside or in a studio, and they're like maybe 3 or 4 studio sets, if that.
It had to be it had to mostly go into the set design of the Demented, home base.
The layer.
The
Yeah,
layer,
the
they
layer.
hung some rags.
No, that was like a serious their sleeping quarters was impressive. Kind of reminded me of that game, the match game or
It
something.
reminded me of the sleeping lair of the Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it was pretty I think most of the money went into repainting their delivery truck for every fucking scene.
I think.
With Crayola crayon.
Yeah, I think it went into cast for sure. Was a lot of the money. I think music. A lot of money was probably spent there too.
Oh, geez, don't get me started on the music.
Well, there are certain scenes in the film where the music is real corny, but the actual soundtrack of the film has a lot of pretty notable names on it.
So we think the budget went into the main actress then.
I think that's
Well,
the biggest part of it.
Is this pre or post Blade?
This was 2000.
2000. I don't know when Blade came out.
I think that was like 90 something.
no,
This could have been when Stephen Dorff was at the top of his game.
I think Blade wasn't that in like late 90s, like 98?
Yeah, it could be. So
Yeah, it
I'm
was
saying
like
Stephen
90.
Dorff.
He went from Blade to Cecil B. Demented.
He was an A-lister at the time.
We got to explain what the movie's about.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so the movie, if you don't know, if you haven't seen it yet, is about a group of film terrorists who kidnap a main Hollywood streamed actress and basically force her to act in their movie. That's what it's about. That's pretty much. But there's so many. Here's my thing too. There's so many. I don't know what they're poking fun at. Is that weird to say?
No, I totally am right there with
Because
you.
I feel like I don't know if the joke's on the audience or if it's on the filmmakers themselves.
Yeah, like the whole tattoo thing, and like each character in the film has a tattoo, which I guess they're supposed to embody the characteristics of that filmmaker, but I just didn't see it.
Well, no, there's that, but there's also like the whole like down with mainstream cinema, but this had a $10 million budget, right? Okay, so they're in its way, and then it's like it's kind of saying too, like, well, we're making a cult film, so down with the like mainstream, like it's making fun of. I don't know. In a way, I feel like it's making fun of mainstream cinema, but it's all or media or whatever cinema movies. But it's also making fun of independent films at the same time. And the people who make independent films. I don't know. Am I the only one who feels that?
No, I think you're on the right track.
No,
there.
I think you're on the right track, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's kind of like, have you seen the show Portlandia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portlandia makes fun of like, I mean, it'll make fun of feminism, it'll make fun of like liberal kind of attitudes and like veganism and stuff like that. I mean, it embraces it, but at the same time, it pokes fun at it. It's like poking fun at yourself, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
That's exactly what I would say. I think it totally pokes fun at itself. It's like, it's basically, it was written by a director who went from one extreme to the other. Like, you know, he started underground filmmaking in that era when it was like fun to do that and when it was rebellious to do that. And then he eventually grew up and had his opportunity to do the Hollywood films. And he did the Hollywood films and he saw like the ridiculousness that it was. And even though he can still pull in $10 million for a film, his films are still considered independent films, you know, like, and he could have played the Hollywood game, and he does to an extent, enough to keep his name out there. But ultimately he knows he's an independent filmmaker, and he gets away with saying whatever he wants. So he can just do it because he does it in a comedical way.
Yeah, but that's, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not really sure what he was. He felt like he was making fun of everyone. Like, he was making fun of, like I said, independent filmmakers and mainstream media. But our mainstream movies, I keep on saying mainstream media. You know, it's drilling your head when you watch TV.
Yeah.
Jesus, or read Facebook. Anyways, I just like it. Just, did anyone else pick up on that? Like,
Yeah, I think I don't know. I agree with you. It kind of did. It didn't feel like it had a direction in which the satire was truly aimed. Like that wasn't defined. Like when the film was being made. Like, I think it feels like a big middle finger to just filmmaking as a whole.
But go ahead.
no, yeah, I was also going to say it also makes fun of, like, the main character who is a washed up Hollywood actress and who goes and does an independent film and gets famous again, which is like a thing that actually happens in Hollywood. So it's making fun of a real situation, but that's also what I think she was trying to achieve by taking this role.
Yeah.
Because what has she done? What did Melly? What's her last name? Griffith done before this?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can't
I'm not
remember.
big on her filmography.
I'm sure
Exactly.
she did something. I don't think she ever like was dead as an actress. I don't think she was dead as an actress when she took the role.
No.
But I
In
think
2000? Yes, definitely.
Oh, well, yeah, that is 2000. Every time I watch a John Waters movie, I feel like I'm watching something from like the 80s or the 90s. Like, they just all look aged already.
Is that saying that the material is dated itself, or
I
that?
think so. I think the material, the stuff he talks about and focuses on it's nothing fresh. It's nothing original. That is a dog in the background.
That
Oh
is.
wow, that dog is sound like he was in the room.
man, he was in the back alleyway behind the studio.
Okay, but I have a question. All of you guys, I mean, we've all worked on independent films in the past. How many of the jokes did you laugh at only because you understood it from like a film lover or a filmmaker's perspective?
Give me an example of
Most
the
of them.
jokes.
I think that's what most of the jokes are aimed towards. It's like maybe GP general public can understand
Yeah.
some of it, but a lot of it is like for like a filmmaker or a film lover.
Right,
to
like for
digest.
instance, what was the joke that two guys come in and were like, "We're non-union, everybody get down, we're taking over this." Like, who the hell knows what non-union
I
is?
know,
Like, not.
it's heavy-handed towards
Yeah.
the industry for sure. And I think you have to kind of, I think when you get, you have such a long run as a filmmaker, like you start to get silly about like what you've gone through and what you've seen. And I think like any John Waters film takes anything to the extreme. It's theatrical. It's like way over the top. It's way heavy-handed, It's in your face. They're not trying to like be clever or sly about it. They're just like, I'm gonna say this fucking thing like just straight out, But it's funny because it's so over the top that you just kind of are like, you have to laugh at it.
But also being over the top, he does give a message across in his film. I can give him that. Like, he definitely has a statement to say in that film. I might not be able to pinpoint what it is myself, but I know there's a message there in the film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, then that's where I'm confused. I don't know if the message is, fuck the mainstream or fuck, independent films.
I think it's both. I think it's just there's part of him that's saying like, oh God, the cookie cutter mainstream Hollywood film, like it'll just by the numbers and everything like that. And then you go, of course, have like this film school mentality where I'm going to go out and I'm going to change the fucking world, man, and blah, blah, blah. And these guys are also kind of like lost in the fucking clouds. Like there's a happy medium somewhere between those two, and both of these things are way extremes. And I think he's poking fun at that. that maybe not Hollywood isn't all what's wrong, and maybe a fucking film student that comes out of film school and thinks he's going to make the next, David Lynch film, he might be a little off the wall too.
Okay. Well, I also just I don't know, man. The movie is just I like that it makes me ask questions. That I like. The acting. Let's talk about that. Okay, so in the characters too, the filmmakers themselves. Did anyone else just hate and despise them like I did?
Yeah.
I hated and despised them because they were every filmmaker that I hate.
Yeah, I think that's true. But no, I think that's part of it too. I think that is totally part of it. They show you so many different personalities. Like they really try to split it up, and I think that's why they focus on the tattoo thing, because that's supposed to be symbolism as to who their character is and what they're like and why they're there, and you know what I mean, like products of those filmmakers, if you will. So I think that is important, but at the same time, like. Yeah, none of them are really likable. Some of them, they're, kind of flat, kind of one-dimensional, and I think that's
I
okay.
felt like most of them were. Almost all of them, with the exception of Cecil.
And Melanie Griffith.
They were the only two
Honey
characters that
Whitlock.
had any kind of depth to them at all. The other characters, they had their one like spiel or thing that.
Well, they all had like one thing in common, and that was being super annoying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they're all just caricatures of reality, and I mean that those are like blown up and they're overdone. And when you go to a street guy and he draws you on the street, that's what he does. He focuses on the your nose or your face or whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I mean,
Cool.
you see where I'm understanding. Like,
Yeah.
it's irritating because it's meant to be an overblown caricature of what reality is.
Yeah, but the question is, are the characters one-sided by design, or
I think by design.
by poor writing?
But I also thought I don't think it was poor writing. I think it is by design. And actually, I don't know. I differ from you guys. I found it to be more endearing than it was irritating for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Because
would say that's the same for me too. Is like I already accept that they're annoying. Like I already accept that they're extreme. I already accept that everything is just totally over the top. So
What's
like
left to like about 'em,
once
though?
I accept that, now I'm just like taking it for what it is. Like I'm just kind of accepting that like this character just is into drugs. This character, what used to be in porno films, like that's like the only information I feel like I need to know about such a big group of people.
I'm not even talking about that part of it though. I'm talking about the part where they're just film snob assholes. Like that's exactly what they are.
That's definitely how that was supposed to be written.
I know.
If that's what you're that's what you're trying to describe, then yeah, that's how those characters were supposed to be portraying those roles. The thing I'm talking about is I just did not find them likable at all, and that's the hardest thing for me to get into a movie. Is I gotta kind of give a shit about that character.
But that's my point too. Aren't they supposed to be like the heroes, and we're supposed to care about them when they die? But you don't, because you're like, God, I just hate who you are.
I don't.
I did think to myself when the one dude got shot in the head, I was like, oh, thank fucking Christ. I don't know if I could deal with another like minute of him on screen.
I don't know. I think the way that they die in the film, I think they are trying to make a disconnect. I think you're supposed to laugh when one of these guys dies.
I agree. Well, okay, that's one way to look at it. Yeah, I didn't really think about it that way. I guess you could. Yeah, I mean, because it is a comedy. It's a dark comedy. It's obviously that. But I mean, there's more to it than that. You know what, guys? Let's take a break real quick, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Cecil B. Demented. Obviously, we have a lot to say about it, so stay tuned.
When I was 10 years old, my entire family fucked me under the Christmas tree.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I bet you are. Jingle balls, my stupid brother started singing. You think that's funny?
No, I don't.
All right, guys, welcome back. We're talking about Cecil B. Demented, directed by John Waters. I want to talk about the main actress now, Melanie Griffith. Griffith? Is that right? Griffith. All right. So we're going to talk about her next. I just want to talk about her performance in the film. She is the lead actress in this film, definitely. She just sucks. She sucks.
Well, I mean, little known fact, she won a Raspberry Award that year for this very film.
She did win it, or was she nominated?
She won it.
She won.
I believe. Well, let me hold on before we have to correct ourselves.
Yeah, I don't want any
I know
addendums.
she was definitely nominated.
I know she was nominated for a Razzie, which is well deserved. Let's talk about it, dude. Her expression's the same throughout the whole film, even when she's even when she's on their side.
Yeah. Yes, to correct, nominated, not won.
It definitely felt like she kind
Nominated.
of phoned that one in.
She phoned it in, phoned home. I think
Phoned it in?
She phoned, you never heard the term "phoned it in"?
What does that mean?
It means
That means like
you're on autopilot.
yeah, you're like, hey, we need you to act this movie, so like you're sitting on your couch and you just fucking call in your lines and that's it. Like you don't put any effort into it whatsoever. It's phoned it in. You never phoned in at work or anything? No.
No.
All right.
no. He's
I like
he's a
my
hard
job.
worker.
You do everything at 100%.
I like my job. I don't want to call in
110
sick.
Willembrecht.
That's what we call him. That's what they call him on the streets. People don't know that.
I was only sick
110,
one day
what's
last
up?
year.
Well,
Anyways, going back to her, she's just stale throughout the whole thing. But here's the thing, because I feel like a lot of the actors are. Even
Yep.
Steven Dorff is very stale.
I mean, I think he played the role that he was supposed to play well. I think he was at that level of extreme the whole time.
Yeah, but that's all that character is extreme.
Well, I think almost every character in any John Waters film was very one-sided.
Yeah.
Until
It's
his
like
parents
this is
show
what
up.
you do, and this is how you do it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I say it has that theatrical element to it. Like, I mean,
What do you mean?
It's just projecting and just like being
Yeah, but even-
exaggerating your movements and your dialogue.
even in theater, characters have depth and background, and like you don't like every character in a John Waters film feels like theater extras.
well, I mean, are they just
might have
representatives
been
of
said
things?
before.
Maybe they're not fleshed out characters because they're just representations of.
Is that what it is, or
I-
are we going back to is it just not written enough, or does he not?
I guess that's
Does he not
going to be
give a
the main
shit?
question we're asking ourselves for this whole podcast is probably that. Yeah.
I think even to better understand it, and of course, this is going to take some like research on whoever's part is interested, but you have to see his other films too, and you have to know that it's obviously a choice that he is making to have these actors act in this way. This is not like an oversight. I mean, this is a person who's like a cinephile. Like he knows films. He knows what good acting, bad acting is. It's not like I just don't know what I'm doing. It's like, no, this is how I want this character portrayed.
So he chose to portray them as just stale, I guess.
Well, I can tell you how Roger Ebert summed it up for them. He gave this film 2.5 stars, and he said it's a home movie which a bunch of kids are just goofing off. That's how he described this film.
Nice.
But for me, I think that's what makes it endearing. I think that was the point of the film.
Now, here's another question for you. Is it a cult film because it has a cult following, which it does, but is it a cult film also because it was made to be a cult film? Because I feel like it was I personally feel like it was made to be a cult film. So I don't know.
I think all of John Waters' films. I mean, Chris is the expert on John Waters. But I feel like all of his movies just naturally just fall into that cult film category because of the following that he has as a director.
Agreed. Definitely. I think. Again, I don't think it started that way necessarily, but it ended up forming, itself into that, and he just became a cult icon in film, and so all of his films naturally are going to kind of fall under that cult status. Now, whether it's a successful cult or not is, cult film is different. Like we talked about Big Trouble in Little China. I think that was a more successful cult film than any John Waters film, except for maybe Pink Flamingos. But
Hairspray.
But ultimately, like, he's always going to get cult status.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's interesting when they bust into the movie theater and that girl says, "Oh, I love Quentin Tarantino." I mean, that's another guy that's also like steeped in like cult movies, Mm-hmm. Somebody that got his education from that. So I found it kind of humorous that he was kind of, I don't know if he was criticizing Tarantino or if he was trying to liken himself to some extent, because I feel like they're two directors that are kind of cut from the same education.
Yeah.
Like movie watchers making films.
Right.
And maybe that's why he makes fun of film students.
He does make fun of film students, and that's what I feel like the group of filmmakers is, though. It's like a group of film students, like, and they represent
Like film student dropouts.
but they're hardcore, like into not liking mainstream cinema. Like that's the mainstream cinema is said like a billion times during the movie.
Well, I can tell you because I personally went to film school. You do have that kind of mentality coming out of there because they don't. I mean, the films that they show you in film school, they try to go to the fundamentals of it and stuff like that. So you're watching a lot of like, Buñuel and like Spielberg and like Elie Kazan, like and all these other filmmakers. You're not watching like. You're not watching like Independence Day or something. No, you might watch Cecil B. Demented. I don't know what class that would have been. I might have missed that one. But most of the stuff was just you're watching like the Maltese Falcon and stuff like that, and you're looking at lighting and you're looking at this. So you get this attitude when you come out of film school, like, yeah, man, this is back in the day when films were films, not like the crap that they're showing right now. But back then. When people were watching those films, do you think they had an understanding of that? I don't know. I think there are great films that get made now by Hollywood that maybe 15 years down the line, they'll be studying in film schools.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's not. Don't get me wrong. I believe 90% of the stuff that comes out of Hollywood is shit. But there's still some gems being produced. And
it was probably the same way back then, though.
I think it always is. I think Hollywood. I mean, the only reason Hollywood exists is because they always pour all the money into the sure thing, the big film, and whatever film's going to make the most money. And at least for the last 30 years, it hasn't been. It hasn't been well written dramas or great story driven stuff. It's been. How much can we wow the audience with the visuals?
It's like here and gone so quick,
Yeah.
But that's also what this movie is saying.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. Like, at the time when it was made, Forrest Gump was, like, the film that was sweeping the nation.
In 2000, I think it was a little bit before that.
Yeah.
Well, they were making the sequel to the film in 2000 because it had that big of an impact, and they thought that was, I guess they
Forrest Gump?
They wanted to make fun of it.
You mean in the movie, not in real life?
Yeah, I don't think there was a sequel made in real life to Forrest Gump.
I never thought that was even a possibility.
I do like Kevin Nealon in the movie. I will say that. Kevin Nealon might be the best actor in the movie.
Stole
the
show.
Yeah.
Him and William. The wheelchair kid who's making faces. That scene is hilarious, though.
Yeah.
That scene is really funny. There is funny moments in this movie. There is funny moments. You know what I mean? I don't want people to think that there's not any humor in this film. From what I'm saying, there is humor in this film. I just don't know if there's enough of it. Like, I found the pacing to be very slow.
Uh-huh.
I did. It seemed like it took, like, I was just hurry up.
I think what I will agree with on this film is not a whole lot happens in the time that we are with these characters. It's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
You go from the lair where they all like hide out and live to, shooting one scene outside of it. That happens. They go back to the lair. Then they go out and shoot another scene and back and then out again, So there's just not a lot of different things happening, but I think it's the pacing for me, the more I watch it, feels slower. But I remember when I first saw the movie, I thought it went by like that, like super quick. And maybe that's because it was all, we're all filmmakers. I was identifying with a lot of what they were talking about. I felt like, oh, this is like the punk rock of filmmaking. This is like want to go out and be rebellious and not give a fuck, obviously to the extreme. And so it was inspiring, even though it was like a comedy and obviously like a very exaggerated dark comedy. So
speaking of punk rock, the soundtrack to this film, I felt like whenever anything was happening, it was just like, chunk and driving, punk or death metal music. I you know what? I guess it fits for the film, but it took me out of it for some reason. Like I wasn't enjoying, like, I don't know, the soundtrack distracted me way too much from a film that I'm already having a hard time paying attention to.
I don't think so. I think it fits the film perfectly. You can't put a score in there. You can't put anything.
Well, I'm
like
not saying
that in
you
there.
could score, but fucking tone it down maybe a little bit or less.
Turn it
stuff.
down.
No, I'm not. No, I'm.
get out of here.
No, that's
What's
not what
your-
I'm saying. I am a definite fan of death metal or any kind of hard rock music. I love it, but I don't know. It just didn't fit for some reason. I don't know what else you could have put in. I just don't know.
You can't be putting in like Thomas Newman as
Who knows? Maybe it just would have been weird enough to work.
There was a lot of hip hop in the film,
had a
and I
mix,
just didn't like it.
They had Liberace at the end as she's being led into the wagon.
Let's talk about the end, because everybody dies.
Yeah.
No one makes it.
No, that's not true at all, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know why I disagreed with you. You're
Melanie
wrong.
Griffith makes it. She makes it.
She makes it. The
Satanist.
sound guy makes it. Satanist
Yeah.
makes it.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie
does make it.
Gyllenhaal. Who's the what the guy do?
Best
Set
looking girl in the
designer,
movie.
production designer. He makes it. They both make it.
She's the
Yeah.
best looking girl in the movie, by the way.
Who?
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, she is.
Hands down.
She is my least favorite role in the, of
What?
all the
She's
characters.
probably my favorite role.
Really?
She's probably one of the funniest characters in the movie.
I don't know.
With the Satanist stuff, I thought it was hilarious.
That was I don't know. Again, everything was over the top. So
That's why it was funny.
funny. It was funny at first, and then it was like redundant.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character then?
My favorite character, other than Cecil, is probably Lyle, the drug addict.
The drug addict the lead.
Yeah.
The lead. He was good.
Adrian Grenier, guys.
Yeah, he's good.
From Entourage.
Who plays the porn star? Does anyone know?
Oh,
Alicia Witt. She
Yeah.
doesn't really do that much. I haven't seen her in that much, but
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
because of this movie.
Because she's not very good. She's not very
I felt
good.
like her best performance was the porn film that they were watching in the movie.
That was
theater
another
that she
funny
was in.
scene. The when she stands up and she's like porn fans, hardcore porn fans, help us out, and
They all look like zombies
They all
with
look like
dicks in
zombies,
hands.
like with their dicks in their hands, whacking off as they walk towards the Teamsters.
I would say
That was pretty funny.
I would say my favorite scene I laughed the most at was the when they go into the theater. It's the kung fu. It's like action fans help us. And they're all like throwing like judo chops and shit.
Yeah, and like terrible kicks
Yeah.
and punches. Yeah, that was funny too. But I mean, yeah, you guys so you liked Lyle the best.
Yeah.
Mike, who did you like the best?
I mean, probably Cecil.
Really? So
Yeah.
you really? I think
Yeah.
not my favorite. Kyle, who's yours?
Dude, I don't.
If you had to pick one.
Don't make me pick now.
If you had to pick one. Ricky Lake.
Just,
Ricky
yeah,
Lake.
just force it out of you.
I probably Cecil, because he, at least his character was the most like developed. I knew the most about him, so I actually kind of cared the most about him.
What did you guys think about all the sexual tones in the film as far as like
Not necessary. Over the top. Just to be
not
over
necessary
the top.
at all.
No, it was just extreme to be extreme.
Can I just say something, guys?
Go ahead.
I'm very surprised, especially from you, Cody, that you're saying this after you loved Toxic Avenger. I found so many. I thought that this film and Toxic Avenger, in terms of like the characterizations of everybody, were very, very similar.
Really?
Like over the top characters they're just like there's not much to them. We don't get a lot of backstory. It's just their representations of like violence and sex and crime.
Yeah, but it's without the slapstick, and I think that's what I love about.
You didn't think it was slapstick?
No,
there wasn't really any slapstick in this one. Yeah, that was a
guy
saving
gets
grace of Toxic
shot
Avenger.
in the dick and then falls on his mother's
That
hood.
is in the last like 5 minutes of the film. If they had done
Exactly.
that in the first 20, they would have paid off a little bit more. But it was like, who cares at that point? Like the movie's almost over.
What's not slapstick about like a crowd of people rushing to get out of the movie theater, falling over each other, puking on the ground?
Yeah.
like,
because they
getting
had guns
shot
in their
at, like,
face.
Yeah,
They had guns in their face.
Didn't they have guns in their face in Toxic Avenger?
They had
No.
knives, and there was a shotgun in a baby's face.
Yeah.
big difference.
But they got beat up by a mop.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both in their own right. Obviously, a little bit of a different style of humor.
I think. I think that this Toxic Avenger took a different route with it. I just think they take a more serious route with it, and maybe that's just the tone I got from the film. But that I think they take a more serious route with it in Cecil B. Demented.
they try to make the jokes seem more serious. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
So you wanted basically what you're saying, you wanted a limit and then they didn't pass that limit. Like there was a line drawn where things go so crazy that you're like, okay, never mind. All this characterization, all this crazy over the top stuff. This is cool. And then are you saying that you think that Waters was just behind that line, just he didn't push it far enough?
I didn't find I didn't find it wacky enough to be like, oh, their violence is hilarious. Their violence was not hilarious to me. Their violence was not funny to me. They were, again, putting themselves in real places and real situations to get a reaction out of the crowd as they were filming them of terror, of real terror. So
Yeah.
if that's the characters that the extras are portraying, then that's what I guess I was getting across the screen, rather than like, this is crazy. Well, we're in a gym and fighting in the background.
I think the film just lacked balance between all the elements. Like you wanted to have, extreme. You want to have humor. Like the difference between like the extreme characterization and the extreme like sexual overtones and everything. It just wasn't balanced. It didn't feel like it was fitting together correctly. So like there was like it was over the top and like at like you get like overdosed for 5 minutes of the sexual stuff, and then you've got another 40 minutes of them being ridiculous. Like it wasn't a balance in there for me to actually like enjoy it.
It was like the stuff that kind of bothered me. Like when Melanie Griffith had to take her clothes off and she was wearing a full fucking outfit underneath her clothes, and like everybody's looking through the peepholes just going ooh like they're masturbating, but they're not masturbating because they can't. So it just didn't fit. Like it was like that's not funny because it doesn't.
Well, they're
make
dry
sense.
humping.
I didn't think it was funny. I didn't think it was necessary. I don't know. I just didn't feel some of the elements really did feel like it was off the cuff. It wasn't thought of. It was just like, while doing it, let's just do it and use it, and which works out a lot in filmmaking. When you're in the midst of it, like new ideas get formed, and everybody knows a movie kind of writes itself as you start going. But I think they use too much of the
less is more. Less is more.
You think they improv'd?
Thank you. That was the word that I was just not coming to mind. Yeah, I think they improv'd, which is good. You should improv when you're making a film, but I think they used too much of the improv shots, and almost like lost sight of like the end game, or lost sight of the script too much.
Chris, how do you feel about the sex tones in the film? It's all about to me. It's all about frustration too. We have to suffer for our art. So they do it sexually. Do you think that was meant to be funny, or do you think he was trying to say something?
No, I don't think that was meant to be funny, but I think that was definitely poking fun at artists that do things like that. I think, there are those people out there that they feel like they have to sacrifice something for their art or another person or whatever. And I think that this was just trying to show the tension of like, and also move the story forward. Like as lame as it sounds, like we want to fuck each other, but we can't until we finish this thing that we all committed to do. It's like, so I just think it was just like a layer. I don't really think it was meant to be funny necessarily.
Okay, because it is throughout the whole film, Mike. Do you think that maybe that was an attempt at the slapstick I was talking about, like sexual humor? That's funny, right? Let's over-exaggerate it, like, which they did. They did the same thing in The Toxic Avenger. I think you're referring to the full-on sex scene at the end of the film where they're all fully clothed and it just makes like a gross wet popping noise,
right?
Which is funny. That made me laugh. I'll agree to that one. Like that scene made me laugh until someone got shot, and then I was like. Well, and it went on for way too long.
Well, she gets shot in mid-orgasm too, which I think is.
Yeah. But I felt like it was right before climax, so it was like she never even got to get her O off.
I'll definitely agree with you guys that this film has more serious subtext to it than Toxic Avenger. I mean, you guys all disagree with me that Toxic Avenger was about like post-Cold War paranoia.
That's true.
But this film is definitely, and because this is just an obvious, it's definitely based in the Patty Hearst kidnapping.
Oh yes, definitely.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, Patty Hearst is in the film. It's about a relatively famous actress that gets kidnapped and then basically goes through Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
And then becomes part of the movement, and she's in it. Yep. And that's the exact same thing that happened to Patty Hearst.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, they're good friends.
No.
So I wouldn't put it past him to pull some inspiration from the crazy shit he's heard from her. You know, I mean, she's been in his films since the 80s. Like I forget what the first one was, but I know she was definitely in Serial Mom. At the end, she gets murdered. She was in Pecker. She was in. I don't think she was in Hairspray. I think it was right after Hairspray she started.
I mean, I gotta admit, brave move by her, really, to be able to. Well, I mean, yeah, to be associated. I mean, to be in this film that is essentially her story, but just completely like just a different, with a different take on it, obviously, but also making fun of it and also kind of playing it off like. I mean, I guess the question at the end of the movie too is, does anybody feel that the movement, this terrorist movement, which essentially it is, it's a bunch of film students that go turn into terrorists. Does anybody relate to that? No. Like no one thought for a second like, yeah, man, crappy friggin' Hollywood movies, man. Totally. If we could just shake up the system, like, oh God. I mean, not obviously not to that extent.
No, I did not think that.
Okay, I'm just curious. I was just posing the question.
Chris, did you think that?
I think that all filmmakers want to do something that shakes up the norm. They want to, create something new. And I think I have felt that way before. Maybe again, not to the extreme. I mean, we can't take it to the extreme in real life as what they do in the film. But like, yeah, I've wanted to make a movie that was like, holy shit. I mean, you got to think this was 2000. Like, reality TV wasn't that big at that time. It was kind of just starting to really wave up, So the idea of catching real terror on film and this whole thing. I mean, that was kind of like a newer idea, at least for filmmaking.
Do you think it influenced anything then? Because I don't know.
No, I think it was just a product of the time. I don't think it like moved it forward in any way. I think there was more way influential things for reality TV. The Blair Witch Project was probably a really big one. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of put the idea in people's heads, like, hey, we kind of like this like point of view. I feel like I'm kind of in the story more because I am the camera, and so. But I think this was definitely trying to play in the reality TV thing, the reality of Hollywood, and like the maybe wannabe reality of guerrilla filmmaking.
Okay, yeah, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Hey guys, let's take Hey guys. Hey guys, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Cecil B. Demented.
No ad-libbing!
$3 for a fucking candy bar?
You call that a medium?
This is still popping coconut oil, isn't it?
All right, guys, and we're back. All right, we're talking about Cecil B. Demented, the John Waters film. We're going to jump in here and just go ahead and talk about the final thoughts on the movie and give our reviews. What are we doing? We're doing Flaming Heads this time?
We're doing Flaming Heads because, spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, she sets her hair on fire.
Sets her hair on fire, and the effect is amazing. It is
$10 million budget, and that's where it went.
That's where it went. Went right into that flaming head. All right, guys. So, man, I had a hard time with this movie. I laughed, a couple of times. I chuckled. I didn't really laugh super hard. I didn't like any of the characters. It seemed to go on for way too long for me. I gotta give this. I mean, since I did enjoy some of the scenes and some of the stuff, I gotta give it. I'll give it 3 out of 5. Flaming Heads.
3 out of 5. That's
3 out of 5.
All right,
Mike.
I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I think it's a film fans cult film, a filmmakers cult film. I think it's a film students cult film. As long as you're able to look back at yourself and point a finger and laugh at yourself for the things that we see making films or whatnot. Yeah, I think it's a great film, and I would give it 4 flaming heads.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
Wow, 4 flaming heads from Mike.
Yeah.
Damn.
Chris, how many flaming heads would you give it? And final thoughts on the film?
Final thoughts on the film. I still really love this film. I've seen it a lot. It's been a while. You start to realize things about films. The older you get, the more films you see. I don't think I like the film as much as I did in the beginning when I first saw it years and years ago. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. It's not one of John Waters' best films. But agreeing with Mike, I think it's made for the filmmaker and the film lover, and I think anybody who's interested in that will love the humor.
Kyle.
Yeah. Final thoughts on the film, like you said. I mean, I honestly can't say that I enjoyed the film, but the reasoning behind me not enjoying the film was more of a creative differences. I wish he would have spent more time developing characters.
There's no creative differences on a Cecil B. Demented set.
Okay.
Just saying.
That's a line from the film. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna give it 2.5 flaming heads out of 5.
2.5 flaming heads out of 5.
Like it's just a slightly smoldering head.
Yeah, like
Just kindling a little bit.
like it hasn't caught yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like Cody said. I mean, I chuckled at a few parts. There were some parts that made me laugh, and to Mike's point, yeah, this is a movie for aging filmmakers who who kind of look back on their youth with tired eyes, but
All right, guys, join us next week when we're talking about American Werewolf in London. That is Mike's pick. I'm excited to talk about it. Great effects in that movie. A lot going on. We'll be talking about that. You can find us on Twitter. Mike, where can they find us on Twitter?
They can find us on Twitter at @cultfilm_review.
Okay, you can also find us on Facebook. Just search Cult Film and Review. You can find each of us individually at our individual places that you can find us. So follow us there. We'll be seeing you next week.
Don't come to my individual place.
Join us next week, guys.